Yeah. And there are people, just like to your point, where people will be like, yeah, buying rentals, like they'll say like 5 little steps and they're like, it's just that easy. And I'm like, you clearly haven't been around long enough to see the life cycle, because it is a life cycle. When you first get it, you're like, this is great. I got my tenant in place, like no issues. It's because you haven't had a turnover yet. It's because you haven't had anything yet. But
we have Shelby Johnson on the episode today, and I really enjoy this show. Shelby is
exciting.
She's a very exciting show, super awesome personality. And if you haven't seen Shelby anywhere before, she has her fingers in so many different things in the real estate space.
Yeah, you definitely know who she is if you don't know who she is. Like, you probably come across her.
Honestly, that's actually a good description. Yeah. She's probably someone that you've seen on like an Instagram reel that you didn't necessarily process who she was, but she's everywhere. She has multiple podcasts. She founded Pints Properties, which is a very successful meetup group. She has she's one of the largest realtors in EXP. She has a massive team there. She has a bunch of other different businesses that she runs. She's just kind of like all over the place. And this is a really great episode because I feel like it was, she kind of started similar time frame to us in the real estate world. And she has kind of gone through a similar arc to what we have. And it is sort of a deep dive into the identity crisis that a lot of people that start out as diehard cash flow investors face as they start to, accumulate a large portfolio. And you start to realize that cash flow isn't actually what you thought it was going to be. When, one of my favorite quotes that she had was she was talking about how she bought a property that she knew the roof only had 5 years left. And she's like, well, now that 5 years has come up and I have to deal with that.
Check is due. Yeah. I think too, like with that is like, also you grow and you pivot as a human and what your goals are as you learn more and you actually get exposed to the industry and you say, well, maybe that's not what I want. It could be you go from an agent to an investor, investor to an agent, whatever it is. For us, we definitely aligned with the whole cash flow thing because it changed for us.
Yeah. And it's great deep dive into like what that transition looks like, how she went and changed a bunch of her Airbnbs. She had to long-term rentals, how stuff she sold, like all the ups and downs that she's faced. And now what she's starting to do in the real estate industry as just like her appetite for what her goals are has shifted. So if you are an investor who has been doing this for any sort of length of time and you're trying to sort of figure out your next steps, this is a really awesome episode for you. Also, guys, definitely reach out to Shelby everywhere that she mentioned at the end of the show. She mentioned a bunch of different places, so we'll put the notes down in the show notes there. But she's awesome and more than happy to chat with you about what you have going on. So anyways, guys, shoot her a follow. And I really hope you enjoy this episode because it's a great one.
See you.
All right, we are here today with Shelby Johnson. Shelby, super excited to have you on the show for round 2. We recorded a few months ago and had some technical issues, so I greatly appreciate you being willing to come back and work with us again. So, Shelby, for people who don't know who you are, give us the too long didn't read, and then we will dive into some of the things that you're working on because I know you have a lot.
Oh my gosh. Hi. So glad to be back for round 2. So I was in the Army for 6 years before realizing that path was not the one that I wanted to spend the rest of my time doing. And so I looked around for other options and I found real estate investing, bigger pockets, Robert Kiyosaki. I drank all the Kool-Aid. I was like, this is it, doing it. So decided to get out of the Army. I got my real estate license as a way to generate active income to fuel my dreams of passive, because I bought one property and I was like, damn, can't do that a lot of times. It was a turnkey. And so then literally went full steam ahead into real estate as both an agent and as an investor, and did well on the agent side of the house, really well out the gate, and was able to acquire 74 rentals in 3 years. Doing the burn B strategy and a lot of other creative financing. It was in a really beautiful time in real estate. Like, I got out of the Army in 2018. So I did a lot of acquiring in 2018, 19, and 2020. So
yeah,
that's
awesome.
Like the quick.
Good time.
Yeah, that's a great time. I think that's when I got started. Dan, you talking about your first property, 2016, I think.
Yeah.
Which was, a lot of people now, they talk about how, it must be nice that you got started that back then before the boom. But the funny thing is, and you probably remember this too, Shelby, back in 2018, all the old like sort of zealots were saying, oh, it's too late. You already missed it from 2008. It's been 10 years. But that's why I said
it didn't feel easy either. Like, it was still kind of like sketchy.
Oh yeah. I would agree. It did not feel easy.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And did you say what market you're based out of?
I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, because I was in the Army at Fort Bragg and then stayed there.
Vietnam.
Yeah, dude. I stayed there until 2021, and then I was in Charlotte, and I just moved to Lexington, Kentucky. So
nice.
Yeah.
What was the coolest thing you ever did in the military?
Well,
that you would think was cool.
I think it's cool that I was the honor graduate for my air assault school and the honors graduate for airborne. So that's like jumping out of airplanes and rappelling out of helicopters, and I got to be number one in both. So
nice. You're the best at jumping out of airplanes.
Fucking one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It wasn't like it was like literally test driven. So I was the nerdiest one. I got the answers on the test right.
I was about to say, number one at falling.
Yeah. Nailed it.
So good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Don't ask Dan what the coolest thing he did was. He'll have some horrible story about how he killed people. And,
I kind of don't know.
No.
Oh,
but,
you literally got into the military the same year I got out of the military.
Really?
Yeah.
Little swapperoo there.
We did. Yeah, there was too much of me. They needed a little bit of Shelby out there.
Yeah, way too much of Dan. It's funny. Dan was an Army Ranger that was out there, doing the crazy stuff. And the funny thing is I've met a lot of other Dan types, I guess, in my time. And one of the things that is always shocking to me is how just like stone cold they are about stuff. It's just like, you have so much energy. This is Dan's like maximum energy right now. He's just so
Stone Cold Dan Austin.
Yeah,
Stone Cold Dan Austin.
Dude, it's good. We balance each other.
Yeah,
exactly. This will be good.
So awesome. So you got started in 2018 and you said doing the Burr B&B. So you're doing short-term rentals back then, or did you start doing those along with everyone else in the last 18 months?
No, I like to say I helped bring it and then to the table. And then now I've completely backed out of it, which, okay. Anyway, so to get into it, 2018, I did not do Airbnbs. I did the Burr strategy. I bought a couple turnkey where I could, but most of it was just straight up Burr. And then in 2019, I tested because one of the guys in Five Pillars Nation, like on our team back in the day, tested one of his units with Airbnb and it crushed. And at that point in time in Fayetteville, North Carolina, there were less than 100 Airbnbs on the market, like entirely Fayetteville and the surrounding areas. And so he's like, yo, this is just crushing. And so I was like, everyone stop, we're doing this. And we did. We did. Well, at my peak, I had 18 Airbnbs in Fayetteville. And this past year, I shut them all down because completely oversaturated. So 2019 is when I went Airbnb crazy with the Burn B strategy. And then it was October of 2020 that I got on the Bigger Pockets podcast and told the world about how great it was to invest in Fayetteville doing this strategy. Wow. Okay. Fast forward to, 2 years from that, and I'm shutting them all down because we started at less than 100 in the whole market. And when I shut them down, there were over 800. And it's just like, it wasn't working. But you adjust, right?
Dang it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy shift though. So, there were 800 of them. Do you think that all of those were people that purchased them specifically to do Airbnb, or a lot of them ones that overpaid for long-term rentals and then pivoted to Airbnb?
I think that a lot of them were intentional Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Right. And then, what's crazy? It's like, as I was doing these like mass fire sales for all of the furniture, everyone coming through, I'd be like, oh, what are you buying this for? And they're like, to set up my Airbnb. And I'm literally trying to show them the numbers. I'm like, yo, I've been doing this for a long time. Look at these numbers. And they're like, no, I'm just going to try it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Dang it.
That's crazy. So you say you shut them all down. Did you sell them, or did you just turn them into long-term rentals?
I sold some, and 4 were arbitrages. So I just did not renew the lease. And then 8 it was one 8-unit historic property and sold them. And then the rest I just turned back into long-term rentals. Nice. So that's the thing too. It's like you buy with the numbers in mind for long-term. So that way, if you have to pivot, you can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is such an important piece that so many of like the new Airbnb crowd has missed, especially in these hot markets, like up where we're at, Eastern Washington, North Idaho. Coeur d'Alene was insane in 2021. People were like buying these houses in like neighborhoods for $50,000-$60,000 plus over asking price to have an Airbnb in Coeur d'Alene. And now you see all those properties coming back on the market and they're selling them for majorly less than they bought them for.
Yeah.
Because they can't cash flow it as a long-term rental. The Airbnbs didn't pan out as they expected. Because I don't know if people realize this. It snows here in freaking October. It is snowing here right now. Like, no,
it's a lake town, which means nobody's there in December, January, February.
Yeah, right. And it just, but we saw this huge run up of all these people with no exit strategies, and it was all outside money that, you know, heard about it because Brandon Turner has a house here. You know, what's his name has a house here, Dan? What's the multifamily?
Craig Kurloff.
Oh, Craig.
From Invest25.
Yeah,
Craig's a great guy.
He has a house here. Ken McElroy has a house here. So it kind of like put it on the map.
Yeah, there's some OGs here from the real estate business.
And then all of a sudden you have these Airbnb investors that have no exit strategy.
Yeah.
Right. So that's great about what you're doing, where and I guess when you're going through that route, when you build that portfolio, were you buying things? You said B&B, were you buying distressed properties and fixing them up as well?
Yeah, a lot of these were distressed, or some of them were turn and burns. So like in Fayetteville back in the day, you know, you just go on the market and you see what had been on the market for 70 days. And then you just come in, you calculate, how can I, you know, acquire this cash and turn around and do delayed financing and recoup immediately. So some were like that, and those were lovely. But a lot of them were like, I mean, I did a lot at the a courthouse, Jesus. Courthouse foreclosures. And then, I mean, in the beginning, there were MLS foreclosures, like VA foreclosures, HUDs. And then in like 2019, a lot of them were courthouse foreclosures, turn and burns. And then, so.
Nice. That's awesome. So did you fund all those with just hard money? Because I guess buying a foreclosure, especially in that kind of volume, requires a lot of cash, and it can be hard to get hard money to
for sure.
Yeah. So I tried not to use hard money when I didn't have to. We were really creative with like layering different strategies. So like I worked really closely with First Citizens Bank, and I had way too many lines of credit. It's crazy. Like, I'm like, why are you giving me these? I don't understand, but I'll accept. So I had lines of credit, and they also had like really cool loan products back then where you could like buy an investment property under $100,000 for no financials and 15% down. So like I do this thing where I'd like use my line of credit as like the 15% down payment on these, you know, so you could come in cash, you know, at the courthouse. And then I would use the rest of the line of credit for the renovation, and then go and refinance, do delayed financing, and get like a 30-year fixed secure. Like, this shit was ridiculous.
Damn. Yeah. We missed the boat on that. We had a First Citizens line of credit for a while, and then they took it back from us.
They called it. Yeah, we had it fully utilized, and they called it with a 2-week notice last year.
Oh my God. Seriously?
You were the OG with that, man. Yeah. Dang it. We missed that boat.
Dude, I'm sorry. And I did private money too. Luckily, like I had connections from the Army who were just like watching me on the internet being like, what are you doing? I don't have the time to invest, but I have some money. I'm like, okay, I also accept.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, please.
That's awesome. So you were building all that out. And then what was the time frame from when you started that to when you got your 74 units? It was pretty quick. Was it a couple years?
It was basically 3 years. So my first intentional, I say intentional because I bought one as a primary residence back in 2013. My first intentional purchase was November of 2017. And then I got out in January of 2018. And that's kind of when I went full steam ahead. And it was by the end of 2020 is when I had up to 74, but they weren't all like single families. I mean, you know, I had a portfolio of 21, that was 7 triplexes. And then I had like an 8 unit, a 6 unit, a 5 unit. So it's like, it's a fucking hot mess of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah. It's always challenging scaling like that because, you know, it requires so much capital and you don't get a lot coming back for a while. So I know you were also growing your brokerage team at the same time. So I guess how did that sort of work hand in hand with your investing? And I think that actually became your primary gig too, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit later. The brokerage side. Yeah.
Yeah. So with investing, it's just something that I realize now, like looking back, it's like, I'm all about investing. I really am. But a lot of people, and at least me at the time where I was like, I'm going to be an investor and I'm going to be financially free. It's like, I look at my portfolio I have now and I'm like, I don't touch my cash flow because I know that it's only going to be there for a little while. Because when I bought this property in 2018, I said something of like, oh, that roof's got 5 more years on it. Well, guess what? It's fucking 5 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That check is due now.
Yeah. Dude, it's ridiculous. And like, so this year alone, I mean, I've put probably 50 grand into a quad through the roof, through, you know, the fucking plumbing issues. There was an eviction. Yep. And so like my rose colored glasses with investing, no regrets. Love, you know, what we have. I'm super glad the Airbnbs are done though, because I'm really more appreciative
Such a
than
headache.
ever. Yeah, exactly. Like less is more, no headaches, that sort of thing. But all that to say, it's like, this is such a long game. Like I will cash out on these down the road, but until then, my cash flow goes straight into the LLC's appropriate buckets to be used next fucking week when the fridge goes out. Or
man, I'm so glad you say that, because like Mike and I talk about this quite regularly, where we don't look at cash flow as like a living wage. It's like to protect your equity
100%.
And allowing the leverage and the tax benefits and the equity growth. Like that's literally what we see our cash flow as. Not that you can't live off it. It's just like you need a lot of cash flow to actually live off it, because you still need those reserves getting built. Because you're right. Like when you're burning properties and you're buying distress and you don't fix every little thing, like a roof or a hot water tank or this or that, it just adds up, and it always happens. You're like, God damn it.
Dude, 100%. And the thing too, it's like, I know that this is an issue of mine. It's like my property manager, not that good. If they're never gonna listen to this, but they're like, I've been considering leaving them for years, and I have way too many evictions, you know, and each one of those, the turnover is just so expensive. So anyway, that's like, if you're out there thinking you're going to get those 5 rentals and live off your $200 a door, which I don't even think you can get anymore with like the interest rates, and that's not a whole other story. But just like reality check.
I mean, and those are the words spoken of a true operator, right? Like Dan said, we've all learned that. Everyone starts the same thing. Like, I'm going to have this cash flow from all these properties. And we always see all these dipshits on social media who are like, oh, you know, we're the 28-year-old traveling couple and we bought 6 properties in 3 years, and this is how we live off of $5,000 a month. I'm like, you're not making that. Right. And if you are, it's going to, you're totally, you're going to be in for a really rude awakening when you have to fix one thing on any of those properties.
Dude.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I think it's just that mindset shift of, as you start to have some maturity and longevity in this business, you do realize that cash flow is purely a defensive metric, right? And not like an offensive metric. And, you know, that's why you have all the old guys that say real estate is a get rich slow game, like over a long period of time. That is absolutely true, right? But the biggest thing, I think a lot of people, especially in this current like instant gratification sort of generation that we have, is they are not willing to wait for the good deal, because you really do make your money when you buy. Right. And that's where so many people, for some reason, have lost the plot. And it's getting worse and worse now with a lot of these like creative financing nonsense deals out there where people are buying like above asking price because they're getting for cheap debt, or they're getting like these seller finances that make no freaking sense. I mean, even right now, like you talk about like, oh, the check's due on that 5-year roof. I can't tell you how many of these stupid deals I'm being seen sent out as like creative finance deals. There's like a 3-year balloon with a seller finance note that's being bought at retail. I'm like, that 3 years is going to come really fast, and you're just hoping that that property is somehow worth more. Otherwise, you're going to have to come out that 20% down payment to refinance that loan in 3 years anyway. Right? It doesn't make any sense, but you see it all the time, right? It's just a ridiculous situation.
See a lot of crazy stuff on the internet. And there's people, just like to your point, where people will be like, buying rentals, like they'll say like 5 little steps, and they're like, it's just that easy. And I'm like, you clearly haven't been around long enough to see the life cycle, because it is a life cycle. When you first get it, you're like, this is great, I got my tenant in place, like no issues. It's because you haven't had a turnover yet. It's because you haven't had a fucking anything yet. But
you haven't had a tenant that just let their dog shit all over your carpet and never cleaned it up. That'll teach you.
Well, then they say, well, I only buy like, you know, I have properties that demand the best tenants, and I only have the best tenants. It's like, well, you know what? Bad tenants do weird shit too. Oh, sorry, good tenants do weird shit too after a while.
They all do weird shit.
You know? So anyways, so awesome. Let's, the real estate brokerage side of it. What did that look like as you were building that out?
Yeah, so I started at Keller Williams and I did like the traditional team model, Gary Keller, millionaire real estate agent type of, there's the red book. I followed the red book if you guys know what that is, but basically it's like 50-50 splits, where you join the team, you brand yourself the team as whatever the team is, you do what you're told, and then in exchange for the leverage and the guidance and the leads and all the things, you give 50%. And I did that for a couple years. And purely, that was not the dream getting out of the Army. I was like, I need to be an agent so I can make money so I can invest, like, period. Mm-hmm. But because I did well my first year and because I shared my story on the internet, I got a lot of attention from that. And people would come and say, hey, I want to do what you did. You should start a team. And in my lack of wisdom in those years, I was like, oh my God, like these people they want a team. Like, we can do this. Let's change the world. Like, it's going to be great. And so we started doing it, and with very little forethought on what my life would look like. I didn't know what my life would look like, and what that would mean, what type of people I would attract. And these are kind of different, as I think now, as I'm like getting into different business ventures, it's not just like, what does that mean? But also like, what do I have to put out into the universe to make that work? And therefore, whatever I put out is what I attract. Do I want to attract that? It's a whole thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
So I did the team, and I did that for a couple of years, and we grew quickly, and it was really fun in some ways and really challenging in others. And at the end of the day, what I found is the people who we were attracting after the initial startup. Because in the beginning, when it's a startup, it's like, yeah, let's build this thing together, everything for the team. But once you get established, there's less of that startup mentality and more of that coattail riding mentality of like, wait, what do you do for us? And I'm like, no, wait, we're building this together. And they're like, no. So all that to say, I was like, fuck this. Changed the model, and now I have like a community where the individuals within the community can use all of the tools and the systems and the products that we developed over the years when we had that traditional team to start their own businesses. So the message is, we are an entrepreneur incubator. We are where agents go when they're done being agents and want to be business owners, and help people start their own empires. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've always wondered, because there's like you always see this in the big agent like groups, is like you're either a Keller Williams or you're like an EXP, like when you see like really successful people. So you're saying the latter is more the EXP model, like, hey, we're agents that want to be entrepreneurs. Is that kind of the idea?
It's so Five Pillars Nation, we're like the sub community within EXP. I think that you can be successful no matter where you go. One of the reasons why our model works at EXP is because EXP has revenue share. So I was like, I don't want to take splits from people, because then they expect something from me. In exchange for something, you are expected to do something. I don't want any responsibility to you guys. I just want to do what I want to do and help you along the way. So in order to not take splits, the EXP model makes sense, because EXP has revenue share, whereas Keller Williams has profit share. Does that kind of? Yep. And I could go deeper into whatever you guys want, but
no, I was just curious on that. It's a one-off question, because like I was saying, like, we know quite a few people in this space that like they're big time Keller Williams people or they're big times EXP. Like when I see big personalities, they're one or the other a lot of times.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I'll never speak poorly of Keller Williams. Like, I loved it for my first year and a couple months that we stayed there. We changed pretty early. It was in 2019 in May when we changed. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting, like that whole route, right? You're talking about people expecting things from you and riding on your coattails. And I think that there's so much talk right now around, like, I would say like the wealth gap or different things like that are sort of, happening in the country. I think honestly, one of the bigger gaps is going to be interesting is we're going to have people that are like entrepreneurial driven and those that aren't, like those that are happy to be the coattail riders. Right. And what's just like with the way things are going, I feel like you want to do as much as you can as to be someone that's in control of your own destiny, because there's going to be more and more people that are exactly like you said, where they're like, you just want to ride on the coattails of this. Like, we don't need you.
Yeah.
Like, you can go and do something else. And we have other people who would be more happy to receive value from us, right? That could bring more to the table. I mean, even like looking within our team, right? Like you start to build a team with employees. You get employees that are obviously just there to sort of get strung along and get a paycheck. And there are people that are there to like want to make an impact on the business, want to do different things. And I understand there's a lot of people that have jobs to get a paycheck, but those are the first people to go. And there's going to be more and more companies that are like, I don't know if you want any of those people. If I just want the paycheck people, I can get some Filipinos that can do the same thing that you're doing. And I pay them a tenth of the price. Right. And they show up every day and they're happy to be there.
Yeah.
But I think like in sort of the American culture, that's going to start to go away pretty quickly when people start to realize that. But I don't know. I went on a tangent there.
No, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of entitlement too, where it's like, I see this all the time within agents or within investors, whoever, when I'm talking to people, it's like they expect time. They expect to be provided resources. And like, I don't know how you guys, when you were starting up, but like, I remember, I didn't have a mentor. When I showed up at Keller Williams, it was a huge firm. No one gave a fuck who I was or what I did. And, I had to like track down, go to people, ask, hey, like, would you mind if I shadow you? You don't have to train me. Can I just listen to you when you have conversations? Can I ride in the car with you? Like, you have to kind of create your own destiny. And so I think just to loop it back, I think that you're totally right. There's going to be like a level, shifting, I don't know what to call, where it's like the ones who take control of their destinies will rise to the top and the others will, I don't know, no one deserves fucking
absolutely
anything.
Yeah. And
no, that's a great point, because like what I see, if I was like to sum it up, is like there's people that are perfectly happy to show up to work every day and wait to be told what to do. And those people are the ones that are going to be on the lower tier, because they're never going to go get things. They're never going to go after, like you're saying, Shelby, going into the brokerage and saying like, holy shit, if I don't do this, nobody's going to give it to me.
No one cares.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, especially in real estate, is a lot of the models that are out there, especially with brokerages, talking about Keller Williams, their whole model is like, okay, peasants, come and pay your desk fees. We don't really care if you're successful in that. You'll be here for a year or 2 years. And then you'll have like the 5 or 10% of people that do come in and do very, very well. And then they go and they tell their church, they tell their CrossFit gym, they tell, their social circle.
Stereotyping real estate agents.
Yeah. They're all the same. Let's be honest. Yeah.
It's my favorite spots.
Yeah. And they go and they tell them about how they're a real estate investor and they're selling it, and they recruit the next round of peasants that come in and pay the desk fees and do all the things. Right. And then out of those, 10% will be successful. And in the real estate like industry, that's kind of the model for like the higher ups, right? They give you the opportunity to make real money if you want to, but the people that are actually running like the industry, they don't really care. Like they're just more about getting more and more people into their system and paying those fees that just trickle up. It's almost like it had like this big triangle shape, where everything just goes
like
up
a
to
pyramid.
Call it a pyramid.
Yeah. Huh. So is that what it's called? Yeah.
I don't know.
So, no, it's just funny. So no, that's cool. So I guess the way that you're shifting now, it sounds more like a group coaching program, because people, I guess, do they like hang their license underneath you, or is it just purely like business consulting and education?
Yeah, so they hang their license with EXP, but depending on who they name as their sponsor, it determines what sub-community, or sometimes it's not even a community, sometimes it's just a person that they belong to. And so like for our people, right now, there's like the free, through EXP, if you're a part of us, then you have access to our, we do training, we have scripts, we do, we have our courses and our library of resources. But starting out, like before we hit record, I was talking about how starting out this upcoming this year, we're going to have that accelerated. I don't know what to call it yet, whether it's like focus group, elite, whatever, where it's like application only and it is paid. You pay to show up, and it's a lot more intensive and smaller groups. And, but again, it's to be able to like, I think about who I want to spend my time with. And I love giving and sharing, but I love it way more when that person's going to do something with it. So totally. I don't want to give to everyone if I can pour into those that are going to take it and fucking run.
They're going to be the more high value individuals for sure. So I guess when they come into that, what are they ultimately receiving? Like, what is their end outcome going to be? Is it like just like mentorship? Is it guidance? Do you have like a playbook? Do you have systems?
Yes, we have all of these things. I'll come back in like a month once I've sifted it out. Because right now, just so you know, we're doing, we used to, up until this point, did once a year team trip, which was an international fun trip where anyone who wanted to go, you know, could go. And we did Costa Rica, Tulum, Colombia, Belize. But this year is the first ever like stateside retreat. And retreat is happening in 3 weeks.
Nice.
So that's like kind of like the next, you know, target for me. And then after that, I'm like, okay, how do I want to build out this coaching to make it, you know, X, Y, and Z, and what's my goal for it?
Nice. Got it. So you do this retreat with your team? Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, it is 100% just the Five Pillars Nations members. And it's only, there's only 25 of us who are able to go there's 140 total.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Awesome.
You've put 140 people on your team.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's more to it. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, but yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. It really is.
Yeah. So no, that's
Dan.
cool.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, that's massive. Do you think, I guess like what was the secret to finding those people? Is it purely just like the media and stuff that you've been doing? Or is it like, I know we haven't even talked about the Pints and Properties stuff that you started, but did that play a role in it as well?
Pints and Properties definitely played a role. I would say all of the podcasts did a big role. Like Bigger Pockets was huge because, you know, especially at that time when I was very much investor agent, then when you come on a podcast like that, it's like every investor agent wants to be, you know, or interested and curious about that. So podcasts, Pints and Properties, social media in general, and then just like word of mouth. So, you know, we've had people come. It's really nice now that we opened it up. It was a huge mistake that we only were taking people in Charlotte and in Fayetteville when BP came out. Such a missed opportunity because now we're nationwide. And literally at the time I was like, you can't be a part of us.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot, but that's okay.
I mean, it's one of those things like hindsight's 2020, right? You wouldn't have been prepared for that.
Yeah.
When you started, it's just like, you know, when Dan and I first started our wholesale business, there's so many houses that we wholesaled. We're like, man, we would have multi 7 figures more in our net worth if we had been able to keep that, but we didn't know. You know, you got to
have the capacity then.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to
Can't
do
give yourself.
Yeah, so,
but yeah, all of those things layered would be the reasons.
So, I got a question then on like maybe we can pivot to the Pints and Properties things. How many are there now? Like how many? How many? I don't know what you'd call it. Groups are there across the country?
There were 23, and that's across 11 states.
Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we know a mutual friend, Tim Garul, up in Seattle area. He has a Pints and Properties setup that he does up there.
Yeah, I love seeing those pictures.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yeah, if our investor population here in Spokane wasn't so freaking lame, I'd say we should do one. But like, the thing is, it's funny about this area.
We have a weird dynamic.
Well, there's there, so.
Exactly. That's how weird it is. That's the problem.
This is very weird.
No, there's literally like, I don't know, a couple dozen investors here that are like the entire market. And out of that, there's like 6 that are 80% of the market. Right. But like, so like you see these other places where they have these huge meetups where like all these people come. That just doesn't even exist here. People have tried to do it.
Yeah.
Well, if you what happens is you start a new meetup and like a lot of people come. What do you think? Like 60, 70, 80 people. Yeah. And then by the next one, only 30, by the next one, 10.
Yeah.
It's a super.
And then when it gets to the 10, it's the same 10 people.
Yeah.
Like
exactly. You're all the same people you were doing business with before.
Yeah. So
well, yeah.
No,
I mean, it's
interesting.
Yeah. I would say that it's definitely not perfect. Everything in general, everything looks cooler online. You know?
I know.
And I'm biased. I do love the Pints and Properties events, but I also have been running it since August of 2018. So like I know there's a lot of struggles that go along with it, similar to what you're saying, where it's like, you know, it takes a lot of effort to market and get new people. And then if you don't, or maybe you guys were, I'm not saying that you weren't, but like you will just get the same people. You know what I mean? Especially since real estate's like that. Everyone wants to do it. It's shiny and it's cool and it's fun. And then they do it and they're like, wow, this is fucking hard.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Sucks.
Yeah. And we never tried to run a local meetup. We attended lots of them and we recognized that it was weak. So that's why we started our instant investor program, so we can build our own online community with people that are actually getting after it.
Yes.
So, Awesome. Well, good stuff, Shelby. You got so much going on. How do you keep everything organized?
I love organization. I'm like yeah. Well, okay. So I use Notion is for like my lists and my projects and keeping everything in its place. And then I'm big on calendar. So, go through and plan out the next month or so with each one of my projects and put it on the calendar and time block it and make sure you stick to it. And then, CRM. So go high level.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, those things. Okay. It helps.
Yeah. Do you have a team at all? Are you doing most of the work, like just like an admin team that helps any of the back end stuff?
Yeah, I do. I have one VA who's been with me for years now. And then I just brought on another one. The first VA, it's not like what you think, like she's stateside. And then the one that I just brought on is a girl from the Philippines. Wildly impressed though. She's doing great. Yeah. I mean, it's only been 3 weeks, but like she's like a full ass human with her questions and her insight. And she like knows more about things. She's like, have you thought of this? I'm like, I love you.
Yeah. They have real humans in Asia, believe it or not.
They do.
Like, that's not what I meant. That sounds so bad. Someone's going to clip that and be like, this fucking terrible. They're going to get canceled.
This terrible human being.
Well, you guys know what I mean though. We're
we do. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I do. And that's actually something that's very interesting. So we've had like, I don't know, over 40 VAs that we've hired and fired in our business. And we have, I don't know, across various countries, like 10 that currently work for us. And one of the most interesting things that I found is that so many Americans, when they bring in VAs, I don't think, it may not just be Americans, might be Europeans, I feel this too, but they like put them in a closet and they don't like include them as like part of the team and the business. They don't have meetings. They don't do all this other sort of stuff. They're just kind of like, here's your spreadsheet that you need to edit. Go over here and do this. And then they're the first people to be like, my VA is only utilizing 35 out of their 40 hours a week. Do I need to fire them? I'm like, well, no. It's like, do you think that's your stateside employees? No, they're productive for 15 hours out of 40. What are you talking about? But if you bring them in, you give them purpose, you treat them as part of the team and like everything else, they're the best employees.
Oh my God.
Totally.
They
show up day in and day out.
Yeah, they always have great attitudes. They're happy to be there. And then if you give them permission to provide feedback, they're more than happy to give it because they're the ones that are in the trenches.
Totally.
Right.
I totally, and that's, I think, a lot from the Army. I mean, Dan, I'm sure you know too, but like a lot of it came, from the initial counseling is a rough word, but it's like, hey, like, let's talk about expectations. And then, we'll have checkpoints once a week. And the first 30 days, let's talk about what you're doing really well and what you can improve on. Let's get on the same page, So I think that I totally agree with you. They are people. I didn't mean, damn it. I just, if you.
No, I think the misconception that maybe you're leading to as well, Shelby, is like, we think of it as a contractor, and then like the States, when you hire a contractor, they're not on your team, right? You're like, I'm hiring you to do this one specific thing, like that's it. But then I think a lot of folks think of it that way and put them in a weird box where you're experiencing of like, heck no, this person's like on my team and like they're fully dedicated, fully committed. Like it's just a different sense when you're talking about hiring like contractors. Yeah.
Well, I also think there's a sense of the fact that since a lot of them come from, more third world countries, that they aren't going to be as educated, right? Or they're not going to be as trustworthy, and there are issues that you have to watch out for from time to time. But I mean, there's whole systems in those countries around training people to be professional VAs that work for American companies.
Yeah. Our VAs, several of the ones we have now, like literally went to university where they're only allowed to speak English in their native country. Yeah. So it's like, they're pretty sure.
That's like
I don't even know if our college kids speak English.
Right.
My girl. Yeah. She's college educated and her English is fantastic. And I think that's what I like. Sometimes language barrier can be difficult because if you are, using, especially if they're client facing, it depends too. If they're client facing and there's like terms and jokes and acronyms, but you're right. Like the education level and even like the understanding of language layers in depth is really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. People also talk the language thing too. I mean, we're in North Idaho, right? People up here are racist as hell. If anyone has an accent, they don't want anyone to do with them. But like, we have the same thing we're doing with American people, right? You get the guy that you're going to try and put him in a sales group and he's like the dude with the red stapler in Office Space. He's like, I don't know, trying to buy your house. He's not going to be a good fit either.
Right.
But
it just happens. You got to, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to find right personalities and right vibes to do it. So
totally.
Anyway, man, we went all over the ship on this. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's dive into the end of the show here, Shelby. So we always have the same 3 questions that we ask everyone who comes on the show. So question number 1, what is your craziest real estate investing story?
Okay. This was in 2018, so year 1. I had just closed on a 6-unit apartment, small little apartment building, and it was not in a flood zone. Foreshadowing. And then, 2 weeks later after closing, a hurricane came through, and we're in Fayetteville. This is like the middle of the state. And it got so flooded. Like everything was flooded. The whole fucking city was flooded. And we have all of my little 6 HVAC units that aren't in a flood zone just done. And so that was really crazy right out the gate. But luckily there's an SBA loan, like an SBA disaster loan, that we able to get to come in and give us 6 brand new HVAC units. And now we have flood insurance, even though it's not in a flood zone. So
yeah, that's
what a nightmare.
Oh my God, such a nightmare though.
Yeah, that's rough. So did you have to like redo all the units as well, or just the HVAC units? I'm guessing they were in the basements.
They weren't. They was just outside on the flat ground. Okay. Yeah. So the interior of the units weren't that bad. Like we didn't have to do much inside. And weirdly, the flooring was tile. So we were okay.
So everyone just lived in a pond for like a couple of days and then they were fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Basically.
Mike and I do not have luck like that. We would have been wrecked.
Oh, totally.
Like if that happened to us, we've had bad luck with insurance and floods.
Oh, no.
We had one property that was in a flood zone, and we finally sold it this year. And I was just like praying that we would.
Wait, which one was that? Was 8 in a flood zone?
In a flood zone, dude. That's why our insurance.
That's why
it was like
I
$7,000
never knew that. I was like, why are we paying so much in insurance? It's because it was in a flood zone. Good to know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was always just waiting for it to turn into a freaking disaster, and we were able to get in and out in a year and a half.
You never told me that. It comes out on live.
It's because you wouldn't have wanted to buy it.
We did make good money on it.
Perfect partnership, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Second question: what is the number 1 tip you would give to a new investor looking to get started, or to a small investor looking to take their business to the next level?
I think it goes back to accepting complete responsibility for anything that you want. Like if you want it, you have to pursue it assertively and make it happen, because no one is going to help you. I mean, people might help you, but like at the end of the day, it's on your shoulders to make whatever you want happen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Got to work regardless of what everyone tells you.
Like that.
Yeah.
But, cool. Easy enough. All right. Last question, Shelby. Where can people find you, follow you, and reach out to you if you'd like them to do so?
So, okay. The Shelby Show on Instagram and on YouTube. Also go to theagentgoldmine.com. Listen to, if you're an agent, this is an agent podcast. It's one that me and Ali Garcet do. I also host the Real Estate Rockstars podcast now. So if you don't listen to that, go to that. But the Shelby Show on Instagram and 5pillarsnation.com. That'll do it.
You got a bunch of stuff. So say those one more time. So you have, no, you're good. I just want to make sure that you get it appropriate plug. So you said the Shelby Show on social media.
Yep. The Shelby Show.
Okay. You have
theagentgoldmine.com.
Which is a podcast with Ali Garcet, who just came out on our show, actually.
Yeah. Ali's great.
Yeah, her episode
cool.
just came out.
Cool.
Yeah. So then Real Estate Rockstars, you're taking over that. She took over that from Aaron Amuchastegui.
Yeah. He still owns it. I just host it.
Okay, cool. And then
in 5 Pillars Nation.
5 Pillars Nation. Awesome.
Pillars Nation. Yeah.
All right. There's a bunch of stuff there. We'll put them all in the show notes so people can go through it and find the one that fits. No, like I said, you got a lot going on.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah. After Dan was talking shit at the beginning about how many businesses we've had, I think you have more, and it's just you.
I don't know. And less is more is like actually my motto these days. So maybe I should slash a couple more.
Yeah, there you go. So awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. And you guys should definitely reach out to Shelby. In case you can't tell, she is just a ball of energy, and she would love to chat with you and hear about what you have going on. And she's also released some great content as well across all of her different platforms. So go give her a follow, shoot her a DM, let her know that you appreciate what she's doing, because that is why people come on these podcasts, so that you do that. We're not all weird, shy people that hide behind some veil. Like, we do want to engage with you. So please go ahead and shoot her a follow and reach out. Besides that, everybody, we appreciate you all listening, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
See y'all.